Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S6 6011 Sirens and Sea Monsters. Chapter 1, The Land of the Living. Thousands of wailing ghosts moved toward Odysseus. The anguished cries echoed through the fog. Odysseus and his men began to run. They ran for their lives, the fleeing from the dead. Land ahead, one of Odysseus' men called. Odysseus woke from his nightmare. He had fallen asleep on the deck of his ship. He had been dreaming of his visit to the spirit world, lulled by Hades and the Persephone. Now, in the distance, he could see the island of Circe, the enchantress. I will tell Circe all that I saw and heard in the land of the dead, he thought. Then surely she will help us find our way home to Ithaca. For 12 long years, Odysseus had yearned to return to the Greek island of Ithaca and be reunited with his beloved wife and son. During the time he and his men had fought in the Trojan War, they had battled a Cyclops, a one-eyed monster. They had escaped cannibal giants, losing all but one of their ships. Odysseus had charmed the wily enchantress Circe, and he and his men had now survived the journey to the land of the dead, a journey from which no mortal had ever before returned alive. As they sailed now toward Circe's sunlit island, the Greeks cheered. The island was covered with beautiful green forests and ringed by rocky shores. The birds sang in the trees as the Greeks anchored their ship. But as the sun went down and they dragged themselves ashore, great weariness overtook them. Each man collapsed to the sand, too exhausted to speak. Lying on the cool beach, Odysseus stared up at the moon and stars. He pushed away all his memories of the land of the dead. He felt the soft breezes and listened to the waves lapped ashore. The world of the living seemed extraordinary place indeed. As rosy-fingered dawn spread over the island, Odysseus opened his eyes. He saw Circe emerge from her palace. She was dressed in a beautiful gown of rainbow colors. Her handmaidens trailed behind her in the fresh morning air, carrying trays of meat, bread, and wine. Odysseus jumped to his feet and awakened his men. Then he hurried to greet the goddess. Though the enchantress had once tried to harm him and his men, she was now their friend and protector. Greetings, Odysseus called. Welcome, my brave friends, said Circe, smiling. You have done what no other mortals have ever done. You have traveled to the land of the dead and returned. When you die, others will say that you have died twice. Yes, we are grateful to the gods for our safe journey back to your island. Odysseus said, we pray that you will now help us find our way home to Ithaca. Indeed, I will. But today you must rest, for you have a long, hard voyage ahead of you. Feast and drink and celebrate your return. Then tomorrow, when the dawn breaks, you shall set sail for Ithaca. The men cheered. They were famished and thirsty and delighted to spend the day in the company of Circe and her lovely handmaidens. All morning and all afternoon, Odysseus and his men feasted and drank wine. When the sun finally set and darkness covered the island, the men lay down in the hollow of their ship and fell fast asleep. Odysseus himself did not rest. Circe took him by the hand and led him into the moonlit forest. Together they sat in the shadows beneath a towering oak. Tell me of your journey, Odysseus, Circe said. What did you see in the land of the dead? What did you learn there? Odysseus told Circe about his journey to the great kingdom of Hades and Persephone, rulers of the dead. He told her about the spirits who had come forth, begging for blood so they might be restored to life. Among them was my mother, he said sorrowfully. She died of grief, waiting for me to come home to Ithaca. She told me that my father, my wife, and son still ache for my return. I spoke also with my friend Achilles, who was slain in the Trojan War. I spoke with the High King Agamemnon. I saw Heracles, Sisyphus, and Tantalus. Finally, I spoke with the blind prophet Tiresias. And what did the prophet tell you? He gave me wise counsel and warnings. This is what he said. On your way home, you will pass the island of the sun god. On this island, there are many beautiful sheep and cattle. Do not let your man touch even one of these creatures. They are much adored by the sun. Anyone who tries to slay them will meet his doom. You alone might escape, but if you do, you will be a broken man. You will find great trouble in your house. Serge sighed. Yes, those are wise words, she said, but before you reach the island of Sun God, you must brave other dangers. Listen to me carefully, Odysseus, for I am about to speak of terrible things, but do exactly as I said, and you and your men will find your way home. Chapter 2. Circe's warnings. Odysseus, can you bear to hear what I have to say? Sir, Circe asked him. Are you prepared to know of the horrors that await you on your journey? Odysseus nodded. What could be more horrible than the Cyclops or the cannibal giants or even the spell Circe herself had once cast on his men, turning them into swine? Circe began. Soon after you leave my island, you will come upon the island of the Sirens. The Sirens are beautiful women. From a field of flowers, they sing to all sailors who pass their shores. Odysseus almost laughed. What threat could these women possibly be to me and my men? He asked. Any sailor who hears the song of the Sirens will forget his homeland, his wife, and his children, said Circe. The Sirens' lovely singing will lure him to a watery death. Odysseus smiled and shook his head. He couldn't believe a simple song could have such power. Heed my warning, Odysseus. The Sirens' shores are littered with the bones of sailors, driven mad by their song. You must make your crew plug their ears with beeswax so none will be able to hear. Else you will all perish. I will order them to do so. Odysseus agreed, but I myself will listen. I do not believe my will to return home can be broken by a song. Then you alone may hear the sirens. But first your men must tie your hands and your feet to the mast of the ship, or you will surely hurl yourself into the sea. Tell your men that even if you plead with them to loosen your bonds, they must not. Will you swear to that? Odysseus nodded. Once you have sailed past the siren, you will see two paths. Search. One path will lead you between the wandering rocks. The wandering rocks are gigantic boulders that pound against one another with terrific fury. No living thing, not even a dove on her way to Zeus, can pass between them without being crushed. The waves that form about the wandering rocks are filled with the wreckage of ships and the bodies of sailors. Only Jason and his Argonauts have survived them, but that was because the goddess Hera loved Jason and protected him. I fear we cannot depend upon protection from the gods, said Odysseus. Tell me, Serge, what is the other path? The other path leads between the two sea cliffs. One cliff is quite low. There, under a great fig tree, dwells the deadly whirlpool monster, Charybdis. Any ship that sails near the Charybdis is sucked to the black bottom of the sea. Even Poseidon himself cannot save mortal sailor from the monster's whirlpool. What of the other cliff? Asked Odysseus. What danger lies on its shore? High on the side of the second cliff is a dark cave, said Circe. In the cave dwells the monster Scylla. She yelps like a small hound, but in truth she is a terrible beast. Even the gods and goddesses cannot look upon her without being sickened. Why is she so terrible? Asked Odysseus. Scylla is a monster with 6 huge, hideous heads, said Circe. Her 6 mouths are filled with razor-sharp teeth. In an instant, the monster can devour 6 men. All day, Scylla sits inside her cave, gazing greedily over the sea with her 12 eyes. Whenever a ship sails by, she strikes with all her head and snatches the 6 sailors from the deck. In no time, she rips the poor victims to pieces. Odysseus stared at the enchantress. Then the choice you gave me is impossible. Either we are drowned by the whirlpool monster, or we die in the jaws of the 6-headed beast. The choice is this, Serge said. If you sail close to the monster whirlpool, You will all die, but if you sail close to Scylla, only 6 will be lost. Odysseus closed his eyes. He had already seen dozens of his men die a hideous death. Some had been eaten by the monstrous Cyclops. Others had been spared alive by cannibal giant. How could he bear to see more slaughtered? I counsel you to take the course that leads past the monster Scylla, said Circe. Do not try to fight her. You will lose 6 men. But if you sail swiftly enough past the, uh, past the monster, you will lose only 6. The rest will have a chance to escape. Odysseus was silent for a moment. He could hardly bear to follow Circe's counsel. How can I knowingly sacrifice my men to such a hideous death? He asked. How can I choose which 6 will die? It is not in your power to choose who shall die. The monster will make the choice for you. Perhaps she will even choose you. Odysseus shook his head. No, I will kill her before she touches any of us. Do not be so proud, Odysseus. You're only a mortal. No mortal, not even you, can defeat Scylla. While you waste time attacking her with your sword, she will devour another 6 men. You must row your ship at full speed and shout a prayer to Scylla's mother, asking for help. Only she can stop her savage daughter from devouring more men. Before Odysseus could protest further, Circe went on. If you escape from the monster, it'll be time to heed the warnings of Tiresias, Circe said. For soon you will come to the island of Helios, the sun god. There you will see 7 herds of cattle and 7 flocks of sheep. There are 50 beasts in each herd. They are tended by 2 fair nymphs, daughters of Helios. The sheep and cattle never give birth. They never die. But if any of you men so much as touches them, all your crew will perish. You yourself might escape, but you will have a sad and terrible time. When you return home to your island, your wife and son will suffer also. Odysseus stood up. The thought that his family might be in danger kindled his desire to start for home at once. Thank you for your help, he said to Circe. I promise to heed your warning. Good. I have told you all that you need to know. Your path will be dangerous indeed, but if you do as I say, you will find your way home. Go now, for the dawn is almost upon us. Odysseus looked around at the forest. A misty golden pink light filtered through the trees. A breeze made the leaves to quiver and dance. The birds began to sing when Odysseus turned back to the enchantress. She was gone. Search, he called. She did not answer. She had slipped away into the dawn's rosy light. Chapter 3 Song of the Sirens. Odysseus was eager to set sail. As he hurried back to the shore, Circe's words echoed in his ear. Your path will be dangerous indeed, but if you do as I say, you'll find your way home. Odysseus boarded his ship and commanded his men to cast off at once. The Greeks stumbled from their sleep and took their places at the oars of the black vessel. As Odysseus was about to raise anchor, Circe's handmaidens appeared on the beach. They carried food and wine for the voyage. The men happily loaded the gift onto the ship. They bade farewell to the fair maidens and pushed off from the shore. As the ship sailed away from land, Odysseus stared wistfully at the island of the mysterious enchantress. For the past 12 months, Circe had controlled his fate. She had changed each man into swine and back again. She had sent him on an unfathomable journey into the land of the dead. She had armed him with prophecies and warnings for his dangerous voyage home. Even now he could feel her presence as gentle breezes carried his ship across the waves. As his ship sailed onto the open sea, Odysseus thought of Circe's warnings and the dangers he and his men would soon face. It is not fair, he thought, that I should know what horrors await us, while my men know nothing. Odysseus stood up and called for his crew to listen. Friends, Circe has told me much about the journey ahead. Now you shall hear her warnings as well. We will soon approach the island of the Sirens. The sirens are beautiful women who sing from a field of flowers near the sea. The man laughed, certain they had nothing to fear from lovely singer. Take heed, search has warned me that any man who hears the song of the sirens will drown himself trying to get to them. You must plug your ears so that you cannot hear the enchanting song. I alone may listen, but only if you bind my hands and feet so tightly to the mast of the ship that I cannot break loose. If I beg you to set me free, you must bind me tighter still. As Odysseus spoke, the wind picked up, filling the sail and carrying the black ship faster and faster across the waves. Then, just as suddenly, the wind ceased. The water grew ominously still. The man looked about with fear. Where is the breeze? One whispered. There is not a ripple on the waves. Said another, what has become of the wind? We must be nearing the island of the Siren. Quick! Let down the sail and stow it away. Be silent, be swift. The man did as Odysseus commanded. They lowered the sail and stowed it in the hold. Then they picked up their oars and rowed silently through the eerie still waters. While the man rowed, Odysseus grabbed the wheel of beeswax. He held the wax in the sun until it was soft, then cut it into many small pieces. He molded pieces with his fingers and handed two to each man. Use these to keep the song of the sirens from reaching your ears. And then you must bind me to the mast. The man sealed the ears with the wax. Then they took long cords of rope and tied Odysseus to the mast of the ship. They tied the knots so tightly that no man could loosen them. The Greeks then picked up their oars again and began to row. As the black ship moved closer to the island, Odysseus began to hear singing waft through the mist. The sound was more beautiful than he had ever imagined, high, sweet, and lifting. The words of the sirens floated on the soft wind. Hearken, brave Odysseus, listen to us now. No one can pass our island without staying. To hear our song, he who listens will be all the wiser. He who listens will discover the secrets of the god. The ship sailed closer and closer to the shore. Through the mist, beyond the still water, Odysseus saw two lovely women in a flowery meadow. To his amazement, he saw that the woman had wings like birds. The feathers were translucent in the early morning light. Odysseus felt an unbearable longing to be with the beautiful creatures. He yearned to spend the rest of his life with them. As his ship drew closer, Odysseus saw heaps of bleached bones around the bird women. He saw the rotten skin of decaying bodies. He knew he was looking at the remains of sailors who had been enchanted by the siren. But even such a ghastly sight did not keep Odysseus from yearning to throw himself into the sea and swim to the island. As the sirens sang the sweet song, over and over, Odysseus nearly went mad. He twisted and turned and trying to break free from his bond. His men quickened their rowing. Two of them bound Odysseus with more rope. They rowed faster and faster over the still water. As they rowed, the song of the sirens grew fainter. Odysseus strained to hear the lovely singing, as it faded away in the distance. His heart was filled with grief as it grew softer and softer until finally it was gone and still and all was silent again. Suddenly the wind picked up. Waves rippled and rolled. Seagulls swooped and cawed. Odysseus' grief turned to joy. He began to laugh. He was safe. His man was safe. The song of the sirens was behind them, and they were all safe and well. The end.